Hey everyone, it's me. I am leaving Barnes and Nobles, yeah, right now. So funniest story. So I was on my way to actually I just finished my morning appointments and I've got a little bit of a break before my afternoon appointments. So I thought let me head over to Barnes and Nobles because I was wanting to get the new Oprah book and The Wisdom of Sundays, that's what it's called. And it's a book about essentially like her Soul Sundays, Super Soul Sundays, where every Sunday, you know, the Oprah Winfrey Network, she has a special guest on there. It's usually some sort of spiritually inclined guest, and she interviews them in a style in which she's trying to pick their brains and get all kinds of interesting spiritual and life insights from the guest. And my partner was like, well, hey, you know, are you planning on going by Walmart? And I'm like, well, no, I'm not planning on going by the Walmart. And he's like, well, go by and can you pick some things up for me? I'm like, yeah, sure, it's just on the street, I don't care. So I went to Walmart, bought what I went to Walmart for, they didn't have, and I got a couple of other things there. But then I left, walked back to the car, and as I was getting in the car, my sandal ripped. It just like ripped, and I was like, oh no! And it's not like I'm carrying an extra pair of shoes around with me or anything like that. So I was like, son of a bitch! And so I ripped the sandal. So I tried to put it back together, and it's one of those cheapy sandals that I got at like Target, where it's like it's a peg and it fits through the hole, and it's expanded so that it doesn't really pop back out. But when I tried to do that, it kept popping out because it ripped part of the little hole out. So I was like, oh crap, I'm not gonna be able to fix this. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? I'm like, I don't want to have to drive all the way back home because, you know, I'm right here. I'm like a few blocks away from Barnes and Nobles. So I'm like, I need to fix this somehow. I need to find a way to fix this. So I thought, well, let me go by CVS or Walgreens because they might have spare sandals. But even then, like I was trying to walk with my sandal and it wouldn't, it kept, like as soon as I put any pressure, it would pop out again and I'd be walking with my feet. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to think like I'm, you know, this guy who's just walking barefoot. And so I'm like, let me see if I can make it into CVS. Maybe I can go and buy something to essentially act as a reinforcer so that it doesn't allow for the thing to pop back through the hole and come loose. So I thought, well, let me give that a shot. I started to walk, and I noticed that if I walked a certain way, it wouldn't pop out. But it looks like I'm in so much pain or something. I'm like, okay, I'm walking funny, I'm walking weird. So I need to play the part, right? I need to act the part. So I started walking and making these faces like I'm in pain. You know, I'm like, ooh, like I must have hurt myself or something. So I look all crazy. And I was like, okay, I'm like, walking, and I'm like, if this sandal rips, like I'm gonna look so stupid. You know, like, oh, his sandals just ripped. That's what's the problem. It's not like, you know, he's hurt. So I made it through the store. I managed to get to the cashier, and I'm like walking up to the cashier, and he's like, oh, he's like, you're limping too, huh? I'm like, yeah, man. I was like, totally, like, yeah, man. And he was like, oh, well, yeah, I sprained my ankle last week too. I was like, yeah, man, it's really rough. And I was just like, so I'm walking out there like pretending to limp, like I didn't, like, you know, something's wrong with me, and there's nothing wrong with me. He just doesn't even know that it's my sandal that's ripped, and I'm trying to keep it from ripping. So it cracks me up. I got back to my car, and I just started cracking up because I thought I was just making a fool of myself, and I felt so funny. So the paperclip thing worked, though. I popped it in. It worked. I went to Barnes and Nobles, and I got the new Oprah book. It's like, you know, this is the book. And then I got another book, and this book I actually bought in e-form. I bought it as an e-book, and my sister suggested this book because we've been working on trying to not give a fuck is what we're trying to do. You know, whenever you're practicing manifestational law, you're practicing law of attraction, and sometimes when you are trying so hard to get to a certain goal, you overdo it, and it's one of those, like, I think I overdid it at this point, because there are some things that I work towards, you know, achieving some goals, manifesting for myself, and they come into place fairly quickly or fairly easily. But every now and then, if it's something that I'm really thirsty for, then it takes a little longer and it takes more effort because there's a lot of shifting that has to happen within me. I have to work with a lot of internal conflict and components just to get that right so that it can come into play. But even then, I get to such a repetitive routine or repetitive process in that I overdo it, and then I become a bit too obsessed with something where I start to limit my potential for achieving or having happiness on a regular basis if that doesn't come into play. So I have to try to, like, okay, now I'm in the, it's like you want to think about something, you want to envision, you want to dream, and you want to have something, feel something as often as possible, even just the imagining of it. Feel it as often as possible until it gets to the point where it's no longer enjoyable. So just do it because it gives you joy, because it makes you feel better. And then once it gets to a point where you are starting to feel pain from it because you're either noticing that you don't have it or it hasn't shown up yet, then at that point you have to drop it and let it go. And so this is something that I've been working on for years. It's taken me years energetically to align with it. And so now I'm at a point where I need to either drop it and let it go, because I'm holding it back at this point. I'm keeping it from showing up in my life. And I know that. And I've been knowing that for a while, but it's so easy for me to just go back into the obsessing over it or thinking about it. And as a control freak, and my sister and I, we can be very much control freaks where we like things a certain way. So that is a problem because it only reinforces the behavior that is leading to the delay or the pushback against your desire, the desire trying to manifest. So lately, and I think it started with me clearing out my home and clearing out some of the stuff that we have in the house, clearing out some of the excess and simplifying our life. That makes me feel good because it makes me feel like I'm letting go of the things that no longer serve me. I'm letting go of the things that I no longer need to hold on to. And I'm making room for other things that are going to be more fulfilling and that are going to be beneficial for me. So less to worry about, less to focus about, less to take care of, and more to just be in the moment, not have to worry about anything, and so I've been learning with my sister to just not give a fuck. And I always tell people, when you get to a place where you've tried to do something so hard and you've done your best, you've given it everything, and it's not one of those like, oh, well, I want that, but I don't care about it. Like, I'm not gonna do anything about it. Like, that's not gonna get you anywhere. You have to put energy into it. You have to put some form of passion of something, even if it's just spending time thinking and living in the moment as if it's already occurred, fantasizing about it, reaching for the feeling of something. That is something. And then if there's any physical actions you can take, inspired physical action, not forced physical action, but inspired physical action, where in the moment you feel inspired to do something, you do it and it leads to your result, then do that. And what I began to get into the issue of is I was not only doing inspired physical action, but I was also getting into forced physical action. And then I was obsessing too much. And I was like, okay, now I'm past my control fact, like my ability to control. I cannot control this thing. It is going to come in the way it's going to come. So I just need to stand back and let it evolve in its own way, because I've already sent out the instructions. I've already sent out the request. I've already sent out the emotional connection and the bond and the energy that is to sustain. I've already sent that out. I've done my part. Anything beyond that, and it's just a waste of my time and energy. And at that point, it's resistance, and I'm pushing it back. So my sister suggested a book that I'd seen a couple of times online, and I was like, well, that's an interesting book. That's what I need to practice, because I think that would help me in other areas of my life. So I need to practice that, and it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and that's what the book title is. And the author is Mark Manson. So I had thought about reading it, and then my sister suggested I read it, and I said, it's funny because I was thinking about reading that too. So the universe is starting to lead me to, of course, so if you hear about something and then hear about it again or multiple times within a short period of time, it's the universe's way of giving you breadcrumbs and following the breadcrumbs. And I was talking to a guy yesterday, a client, because I said, I said all of the breadcrumbs on there, the universe is telling you through these situations that you've been dealing with that this is where you're supposed to go. Unfortunately, you're like, no, universe, like, I'm on a low carb diet. I don't eat bread. I don't eat carbs right now. So I can't follow those breadcrumbs. So you're essentially fighting back on the inspired action, on the direction or the path that the universe has laid before you. So it doesn't matter, eat the damn carbs. If it means you have to eat some carbs to get to where you want to get to, even if that's not what you are planning to do or what your the overall, like, then just eat the damn bread. So but yeah, so the book is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and I'm actually going to post both of these the links to both of these books online right above this video, so you should have the links there. So if you want to get them, you can get them on Amazon or whatever. But I really am looking forward to the Oprah book because it's just one of those things. I love Oprah. I just love her. And not everything that she does is amazing, but a majority of the stuff she does is amazing. And I think that it's just really cool. And the first thing that I saw on there, the first page that I saw when I opened the book was a page with Oprah and Michael Singer, and it was a conversation she was having with him about noticing yourself and knowing who you are. You're the you that is essentially witnessing the other you that is communicating about different things, having different thoughts, having different ideas pop up in your head randomly. So you're the you that's witnessing that, not the you that's having those thoughts. And it's about distinguishing between what is and what isn't us. So I think that's amazing. And I love Michael Singer. I listened to one of his audiobooks going to San Antonio once. I was driving out to a friend's ranch, and I was going to just kind of like detach for a few days and disconnect and be in my own little world, mental world. And I listened to the audiobook, and it's the book is called gosh, I forgot the name of the book. Well, anyways, it's really, really good. The Surrender Experiment. The book by Michael Singer is called The Surrender Experiment, and I'll post that below as well. But the book is about his journey towards trying to be at peace with the entire world, just being at peace internally, not trying to change the outside, just focusing on being at peace within through forms of meditation. And his whole life just literally is lived through it. Every single time he's trying to like get to that place of intercontemplation and at peace, life has different plans for him, and it starts to lead him down this amazing journey that both is inspiring and also is a bit frightening because of so much that can happen without you actively engaged in the process. It's an amazing book, and it really, ever since I listened to that book, that audiobook, it made me want to practice more of surrender yourself to the process. Once you've done everything you can, you surrender yourself to life, to God, to the universe, to your faith. And that is real faith, because at a certain point you have to come to the realization that you can only do so much. There's nothing more you can do, and you're making yourself sick, or you're hurting yourself, or you're causing yourself pain. And so just surrender. And that's what I've been wanting to practice. So I think that book was an amazing book, and I think this is going to help me even further. The subtle art of not giving a fuck, that's going to help me as well. And so I'm always trying to develop and evolve, and whatever I learn, you guys are going to learn. Whatever I know, you guys are going to get the benefit of that. I want to make sure that I pass along any gems, anything that I read, that I come upon that is really amazing and inspiring, because I want your lives to be better, because I'm actively engaged in the process of trying to expand and be happy. Always trying to be happy, and being happy is not about what you have. Being happy is not about what you accomplish. Being happy is about what you choose to feel in the moment. And yeah, we can have desire, and we can long for things and desire for experiences, but ultimately being happy is in the moment. When I went to Mexico back when I was a kid, the one time I went to Mexico, they had like nothing. I mean, we're so wealthy as people, with even the people that you think are poor here. It's just some of them are even more blessed than some of the people who live in Mexico, where they have really nothing. They live like in dirt houses, and they know, they have a better idea of what happiness is, because anytime there's an opportunity to celebrate something, they celebrate, and they rejoice, and they get fulfilled by the smallest, simplest things. So I think they have a better idea of what happiness is. And I find that a lot of these people who are in third world countries who have nothing, they know what happiness, they have a better grasp of happiness than we do here in the United States. And we're so blessed with so many things that we have. So it's just interesting. The more you have doesn't mean. And my uncle he was like the most successful, quote unquote, successful person in our family. He was a doctor, a physician, and he's the only one that went to college and graduated college of that generation. He always told us, he says, money isn't happiness. It can buy you things, it can get you things, it can make you comfortable, but it's not happiness. And he always reiterated that over and over and over again. So I am looking forward to reading this book, and I cannot wait to share with you any of the tidbits that I stumble upon. Well, I love you guys, and I will talk to you sometime later, okay? All right. Bye, guys.